Assalamu alaikum viewers from the studios of DNA program. Along with my colleagues Anjum Rashid and Javed Iqbal, we have the privilege to have Androulla Kaminara with us. I will just introduce to you her. She is an experienced EU official with a career of over 2 decades in the European Commission and in the European External Action Service. She has served 3 times outside Brussels. Currently, she is EU's ambassador to Pakistan. She was the head of the European Commission representation to Cyprus and also served as the EU fellow to Oxford University. We would discuss with her Pakistan-EU relations today. So I'll fire the first question, being the host of the program. GS Plus, that's a buzzword here.
Yes.
You know that was a great favor by the EU at a point when Pakistan had hardly any outlet where to sell our products. But now we hear that there are some concerns expressed by the member of the European Parliament in terms of a resolution presented by 638 plus people. What do you think is now the state of the relationship and this GS plus status?
Thank you, Mr. Khan. First of all, thank you for the kind invitation to be on this show. I'm very pleased to be here. So, GSP Plus. Let me spend a couple of minutes explaining how it works in order to be able to answer your question. So GSP Plus status was given to Pakistan in 2014. And basically this is a trade regime that allows zero import duty products from Pakistan to enter the EU. And then there is another side to it, also products from the EU enter Pakistan. Now, since 2014, the latest figures we have, Pakistan has been able to export 7.5 billion euros worth of products into the EU market per year. We have become your biggest export destination. We are 33%.
And it's a two-way.
It's a two-way, but I'm talking about the part which is exporting from Pakistan into the EU.
Fine.
In fact, quite often people say or do not understand the magnitude or the importance of the EU market. And what I would like to underline is that the part of the equation of trade that interests a country more is what the country exports.
Fine.
If you're, there is another part which is also important, but that is less interesting to the country. It's more interesting to the one that's exporting.
Okay.
So we're double the market of your next competitor, next export destination, which is the US, and 3 times what you're exporting to China, just to show you how big it is. Now, the way the system works is the following. Pakistan, like what we apply here, it's also something that we apply in other countries. Pakistan already had signed a number of UN conventions before even GSP was negotiated. So what GSP Plus did was to say that we put all of these UN conventions under one umbrella. Some of them deal with human rights, some of them deal with international labor law, some on environmental protection. We put them under one umbrella and we monitor the progress of the country towards the ultimate goal of fully enforcing those UN conventions. And the way we monitor is to do annual and biannual reports where we say, okay, last year we were at a certain level. What has happened over the last year or
6 months or a year?
Yes.
Okay.
So
there are periodical reports.
Yes, which are part of the regulation.
Okay.
Now, what happened with the 29th of April resolution of the European Parliament? We have the European Parliament with overwhelming majority of the parliamentarians saying that they're requesting the European Commission, which has the right of doing those reports, to do an urgent evaluation of where Pakistan is with the implementation of those conventions, and to propose whether or not we should continue or stop or somewhere in between, because there are other options that we can take. And that's where we are. So the fact that there was an overwhelming majority of European parliamentarians that basically voted about potentially stopping GSP Plus with Pakistan. Does not mean that it will happen tomorrow. What it does mean is that when there is a report,
so there is a concern.
Yes, when there is a report, this report will be looked at with a closer eye, and that's why the next report that we have to produce, it's better that it's not in the grey zone, but it's in the white zone.
So will it be safe for me that there is no immediate threat of cancellation of the deal or something like that?
There is a threat. There is a threat because these are politicians, and politicians that have taken a stance in one direction are very difficult to convince them to take a stance in an opposite direction. But if a report is produced and Pakistan can show that there have been the relevant progress, this will for sure help in avoiding that danger. And I have already seen that a number of, let's say, shortcomings of the previous report seem to be on their way to being resolved. We're still waiting to see the outcome.
But you think that there is a willingness to do that? What is the requirement under that deal?
All my contacts with the government of various services and ministries of the government of Pakistan is that they will try and meet the requirements in order to have a much, much better report than the previous one in order to avoid that danger.
They will give us chance to improve?
The chance to improve is within Pakistan. All we are going to do is just to monitor if the progress has taken place.
So I will take the advantage of being the host to fire another question before I open the floor to my colleagues.
Okay, go ahead.
So that is the issue of death penalty. I think this is one of the fundamental issues.
Yes.
That EU wants us to reduce the number of cases in which punishment like the capital punishment like death penalty can be awarded. Do you think we are doing right in that direction? We are really following the line or the requirement that you have?
Okay, again, let me tell you some facts. Pakistan has over 4,500 people on death row. This is not new. This is something it has been happening for some time. But on the other hand, Pakistan has had a de facto moratorium on the death penalty since December 2019, which is a positive step in that direction. What the EU's position globally is that we are against the death penalty.
Okay.
However, GSP Plus does not say because
total ban on that.
Yeah, it's a UN convention. That UN convention does not say no death penalty. That UN convention says minimize the number of crimes that can lead to a death penalty.
Okay.
Currently, if I'm not mistaken, there's something like 33 different crimes in Pakistan that can lead to a death penalty. So, and some of them are crimes dating back to 50 years ago, which are not even laws that are not even used.
Okay.
There are other cases where also improvement can be done in order to avoid potential misuse of laws that can lead to the death penalty. So the issue is for Pakistan, ideally to minimize the number of crimes and to reduce the number of people on death row. You have 1/3 of the global death row population. I don't think that's something that Pakistan wants to be proud of.
Would respond to what EU wants us to do.
Yeah.
And I'm being told that we have to go for a small break.
Okay.
And viewers, we are going for a break. When we'll come back, we'll revert to Lady Androulla Kaminara again. Welcome back. Now I will ask my colleague Javed Iqbal to fire his question, and the lady is ready to take any question. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I have one very simple question. As you talked about the Pakistan export around 7.5 billion euros to Europe. Since Pakistan have met almost 26 condition of FATF, and will that be a good consideration for you to enhance the bilateral ties between the European Union and Pakistan and export, especially export related? And what do you think, since you are here for last 2 years in Pakistan, so what do you think, how much growth we can get from 7.5 billion euro in terms of export to European Union?
Thank you very much, Mr. Javed. First of all, GSP Plus, under GSP Plus, one of the conventions is linked to FATF. Now, the European Union has come out publicly and said that it recognizes the progress and the big changes that Pakistan has put in place in order to meet all the FATF provisions. Currently, the last review was a few weeks ago. The last review said that 26 out of the 27 conditions have been met. Pakistan has met those conditions. There's still one remaining. That's why Pakistan is still on the grey list. Now, with respect to increase of the exports, absolutely, there's a huge potential for that. From what we know currently, the whole GSP Plus is resulting in over 1 million jobs in Pakistan, directly linked to GSP Plus. And of course, if you have better, the population has more wealth, there's other subsidiary jobs that are related to GSP Plus. But I'll give you a very small example. Most of your exports are in textiles, which is very, very good, of course. However, if you go into the details and you look at what types of textiles, it is cloth or yarn.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, it's very, very good. But if you look at products like ready-made garments, the profit margin is much, much bigger.
And that might have a huge potential.
Yes. So rather than, for example, exporting cloth, if that was turned into clothes, particularly fashionable clothes, that could potentially leave a lot more profit in Pakistan. That's the first.
So you see the big potential in the European Union market. Absolutely. In terms of clothing. But you think that Pakistan would able to cross over 10 or 15 billion euros in coming 1 or 2 years' time?
It would depend very much on how innovative the manufacturing here is. And of course, you can also diversify. If you look at exports in leather or exports in shoes, they have seen a dramatic increase over the last few years. And the potential there, again, is very, very big. Recently, because there was, of course, a problem with COVID in the market, and I heard that exports from Faisalabad were actually increasing. And I said, I have to go and meet these people that, in the context of COVID, are able to export. And in fact, I was amazed how, because they were able to turn around types of products that were exporting and cover markets that other countries, other exporters used to cover parts of the need in Europe. Because of COVID, they were not able to. And they used innovative processes, and they managed to increase drastically their exports. So there is this entrepreneurship spirit here. That if more innovation, more knowledge about what the market needs, and therefore addressing those needs in Europe.
So they are responding to your advices.
I don't know if it's my advice. I wouldn't put it on me, but they're definitely doing a good job.
Your Excellency, you have seen the status of women in my country, in Pakistan.
Yes.
And I want to know your opinion and observation about the empowerment of women in Pakistan, and what you suggest us, and how the European Union can help us to raise the status of women in this country.
Okay. I have never been amazed about the amazing women in any country as the women in Pakistan, let me say that. And that I'm not saying it because I'm in Pakistan. I've traveled a lot around the world, and the ones that are managing to succeed, they have had to overcome, I'm sorry to say so many hurdles that there are some powerful women around here, and my hat off to them, really. If you look at, again, talking business, and when I go to meet chambers of commerce, I always speak also to the women, business women. I'll follow the example of when I was talking of Faisalabad. If you look at the needs of a new entrepreneur, one thing is to have money to invest in whatever business they want to start. In Pakistan, the number of women that have any property to their name is less than 5%. I think 2% they would have land, or 3% they would have houses. So if you're a woman entrepreneur here, you cannot do what most women in Europe would do, which is sort of mortgage the house and get some money and start your business. Then you will need to go and borrow from a bank if you don't have. Even to borrow money from a bank, there are additional, let's say, hurdles for a woman to get access to finance than men. And despite of that, I have met, again, Faisalabad Chamber of Commerce. I've met a woman that had a construction company, not the traditional sectors, but also in sectors that you would not normally expect to find a woman, or women in IT, in information technology. So I think if some of the hurdles, maybe the bureaucratic hurdles that exist, were solved, and it would be a huge thing for Pakistan. And if I were allowed to say, Pakistan, in order to have development, absolutely needs to use the talent of the women as well. There cannot be development if 50% of your population is not given a chance to show their talent.
51% to be precise.
The
Yes.
European Union has any program that can help women empowerment in my country to legislate the banks and get them grants, get them loan, and other way?
Absolutely. Practically every program that we do in Pakistan, and we have about 100 million euros worth of grants, not loans, grants per year. We implement projects in Pakistan. Or practically all of them have gender sensitivity, in the sense that we will promote, if let's say we're looking at local development, we will look at giving skills and micro credits to the women. So practically everything we do is seen from that angle. We also work with on the justice aspect. Two days ago, that we inaugurated a big program of 20 million euros rule of law program. The Chief Justice of Pakistan was also there, and quite a few ministers, because this is also going to be particularly in Balochistan and KP. Yeah. Within that program, we try and make sure that there are women, recruitment of women police officers. There are, we try and make sure that crimes against women are, when we do training, the crimes against women, gender-based violence, and these types of crimes, given priority for the training for the general police force, in order to have the sensitivities and to have the knowledge of what the law says vis-a-vis women. So with respect to that, I can safely say that practically everything that we're doing.
Your Excellency, you have said that we have only 5% property owner women. So what is the ratio in Europe?
I cannot say off the top of my head, but I would say that there wouldn't be much of a difference between the percentage of women and men that have property to their name. The law would give equal to let's say the sons and daughters of somebody who has property.
Exactly.
It's exactly
I'm being asked to go for a break again, and when we'll come back, we'll then ask more questions to Excellency Kaminara. So we are going for a break. Welcome back after the break. Now, my colleague Javed, you had a question, I think.
Excellency, my question is regarding Pakistan. In the past, if you see that on a child labor issue, there were a lot of concerns, and because of that concerns, most of the European market was not accessible to the Pakistan business community. You have been to Faisalabad, you have been meeting with the chambers people as well, and most probably you must have seen that the child labor issue almost has been done with Pakistan. So after that, how do you feel about that? The market and the business and the European people, how do they are responding on that?
Yes, you're very correct to say that we are very concerned about child labor. Again, it's one of the conventions that Pakistan has signed up to implement. With respect to child labor, there's a few things that are pending, which have to come out of Pakistan. One, there was a child labor survey that needed to be done. We were told that we will be having the results in the near future, and that will be very important to be able to prove that less children are actually working. The second thing is with respect to the business community. What I'm doing is to raise awareness with them on how important it is to ensure that that does not take place, because it's actually, in the end of the day, counter to their own interests. The other thing is that according to the GSP Plus, there is the obligation to have inspections of factories. And if you look at the last 2 or 3 reports we were doing in the beginning, there were practically no inspections of factories. Then there was some recruitment of these inspectors. It has been increasing, but it's not at the level where they can be ensured that all factories are meeting the standards that are required.
So still there are a lot of things which need to be done.
Yes, but what we look at when we do the reports, it's not that the country has gone from, let's say, wherever they were to 10 out of 10, but that it's progressing towards getting to 10. So what's important is to make sure that there are more inspectors, that these inspectors have access to the factories to inspect when they need to do that, and of course that less children are working. The other side of the child problem here is that you have, according to some estimates, something like 20 to 22 million children out of school.
Out of school. Oh.
And that is a lot of talent that is not taken on board.
Your Excellency, many Pakistanis, our children, our brothers, they are working in European Union.
Yeah.
They are doing their jobs and they are living there. And we are very scared of Islamophobia because there is a great threat for them, for us also. Okay. What measure can we do to counter this Islamophobia, and what can you help us to overcome Islamophobia in Europe? So,
first of all, let me say that there are over 20 million Muslims living and thriving in Europe. Okay, a Muslim in Europe can become a prime minister, cabinet minister.
In England alone, there are about 9 mayors of the major cities.
Okay, mayors. So there is no restriction in Europe on what a Muslim can become. There's no restriction on that. Secondly, every country in Europe has legislation which is against hatred speech, and particularly also including anti-Muslim hatred speech. So according to all the member states' legislation, this is a bad thing, and the state always reacts when there is violence against any religion, including Muslims, because there's also other segments of the population that certain people may take objection to. So as far as the state, as far as the EU rules are concerned, we are and we practice that we do not want that to happen. So in all societies, there is a very, very, very small percentage of extremists that nonetheless cause problems. European countries will always mobilize their police forces and everything else to address these problems. But also, we make sure that we do not, in the public domain, give misinformation that would fuel further attacks. You ask me what could be done on both sides, because it's not just our problem or your problem, it's a global problem.
It's a global problem.
So in my view, it is very, very important. Governments and also leaders in any form, political leaders, religious leaders.
Leaders from all sectors. That's precisely
yes, professors. So the people that have following, the people that have a public voice, to make sure that there are no attacks and no inciting of violence. Because something happens in Europe, it can have a knock-on effect here. Something happens here, it can have a knock-on effect in Europe, because the average person would not know the situation.
It's more of a global issue instead of Europe or Pakistan or any other country issue.
This is a global issue which, for some reason, certain groups, certain groups are identified.
It's not a big threat.
Over 20 million people are thriving. There's 1.5 million Pakistanis that are in Europe, that are raising children, that are having a good life, and there's a lot more Pakistanis that would like to go to Europe.
Yes. Europe has been a choice destination for any Pakistanis.
So, no, it is not an issue that everybody is under threat. I cannot say that there is zero, because there are always the extremists. Okay. But that applies to any society on any grounds.
Okay. Our discussion with Lady Kaminara is continuing. We will come back after the break. Welcome back after the break. Now we are in the last segment of our show today. Excellency, my question is, what in your opinion is the state of press freedom in Pakistan?
Again, because GSP Plus is so wide, one of the areas where in the previous report that we did, Pakistan was criticized, was on the freedom of the press, because if you look at the international indexes on freedom of the press, Pakistan is not doing well at all. And the previous report said that Pakistan has drafted a journalist protection bill that would be tabled. That report came out in February 2020, and the data was from 2019. Since the April resolution, I am aware that the journalist protection bill was actually finally tabled, and I think it's now in the parliament. If that bill passes and the content of that bill is in the right direction, that would be a positive thing vis-a-vis where we think Pakistan is. Freedom of the press is vital for any democracy.
Okay.
If for people to make choices about how to vote and what is going on in the country, it's a vital part of democracy.
What I gather from your, what you have told us now is that freedom of press remains a major area of concern for the EU. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Your Excellency, you have the European Union had offered 141 scholarship to Pakistanis. Please, can you explain to my people how can they apply and get this opportunity of scholarship?
Okay. First of all, we have a program called Erasmus Mundus. Basically, it's a scholarship scheme which gives scholarships. Most of them are for master's degrees or PhDs, but also some undergraduate degrees in any topic to European universities. This is a competitive process, so the best students from any third country take it.
What is the criteria of best student?
Highest marks, best degrees, best knowledge of other languages. So
highest marks in SAT and highest mark in GMAT?
Yes, in academic, the highest marks academically. Get it. Plus, also, it's very necessary that the student would speak the English or the language of
and one can find out all this on your website.
On our website.
Okay. Website name is European Union.
European Union, Pakistan. If you Google that, Erasmus, that would come up.
Okay, that is there. The people can watch.
Yes.
European Union.
Please.
Her Excellency, I just want to know, you have been to northern areas, you've been to Torkham, you have been to visiting Peshawar and many other cities in the northern area. So while visiting that place, what are those points which you need to advise Pakistan to increase the tourism in that side, in that area?
I've seen the most amazing places, and I feel privileged to have been able to go and visit this place. I've been to Swat, I've been to Gilgit and Hunza, and unbelievable beauty. Also Peshawar and all the other cities. What the potential is limitless.
Enormous.
Limitless. The people are fantastic and hospitable. What needs to be done is to have a more global tourist product. Because anybody, let's say a European that travels to come and wants to come to Pakistan, may want to go to Hunza and go to the mountains, but since they're traveling so far, they will also like to go to museums, they would like also to visit a few other areas. So, I mean, starting from the first step, security is very important, of course. Access, transportation, I mean, it's very, very important. But also,
Lady Kaminara, I have been working in the Pakistan Tourism Development Corporation for 2 years in the publicity and promotion department. I can vouch that Pakistan is the single country which has the largest tourist attraction. Is that observation right?
I would fully agree.
Now, my last question would be, you have been to Pakistan for 2 years. You have been traveling to cities like Lahore, Peshawar and everything. What about the cuisines, the eatable? What is your preference? What is that you like the most?
Okay.
Especially Lahore.
Lahore, okay. A few additional kilos vouch for how much I like Pakistani food. Of course, biryani is one of my favorites. And each time I'm quizzed which city does the best biryani, I would, as a diplomat, I will not answer that question. But the sweets, the vegetables, the fruit. I am a mango.
Tell me your impression of visiting Lahore as such, as a city. It has so many dimensions. It's a Mughal show window. It's so many other.
Yesterday we were near Bakshati Mosque in that area.
And fort.
Magical. Today we were in a museum, Fakir Khana Museum, which is not something that most people would know about, but it was absolutely fantastic. The art of Pakistan. The cultural, I mean, from paintings to handicraft to
the fashion. If you go to the fashion houses, you'll be amazed.
Pakistani fashion. And I can tell you, my friends back in Europe, where I usually take presents from here, they're all delighted. So if Pakistan could unlock the tourism part, make it more, let's say, friendly, a holistic thing, but at the same time preserve the environment as not to spoil the environment for the future generations. The sky's the limit in that area.
Thank you very much, Lady Kaminara. Viewers, as I said earlier at the outset of my program, that she is a skilled diplomat and she answered with absolute authority without looking for words for a moment. So it was really a pleasure and a privilege for us to have her here on our show. The time is a barrier, otherwise we can talk to her for hours and hours together. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.